The night on planet Varuna was dark, heavy, and dangerous. A violent storm covered the entire jungle. Sharp winds moved through the trees like angry spirits. Lightning cut the sky again and again, showing broken ruins for 1 second and hiding them the next. Human soldier Rylan Ward walked alone through the wild path. His clothes were soaked, his boots full of mud, and his face tired from a long patrol. He wanted to reach his small outpost before the next lightning strike, but then he heard something. A sound. A small cry. Weak, scared. Not human. He stopped at once. The sound came a second time. It was sharper now, like a kitten's cry, but deeper and rougher. Rylan raised his flashlight and slowly followed the noise through the bushes. His senses were alert. His hand stayed close to his rifle. On this planet, even the shadows could kill. As he moved further, he saw smoke in the air. The storm pushed it away, but the smell of burned metal and chemicals was strong. Rylan stepped into a small clearing and froze. A crashed transport lay in front of him. Its metal body was torn open from the inside, like something huge had clawed its way out. Sparks still flashed along the broken edges. The rain hit the surface, making sharp, sizzling noises. Then he heard the cry again, this time from inside the broken transport. Rylan stepped carefully onto the wreckage, shining the light inside. His eyes widened. 2 small shapes were curled together in the corner, tiny bodies shaking from cold. One had dark fur with silver stripes. The other had golden fur with small glowing spots. Their ears were pointed, their tails long and thin. Their faces looked like a mix of human and feline. Hybrid cubs. Very rare, very expensive. Very dangerous to find in the wild. The golden one looked up at Rylan with big, glowing eyes. It tried to hiss, but its voice was weak. The other cub tried to move, but fell to the side, too exhausted to fight or run. Rylan slowly lowered his rifle. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. Even though he knew they could not understand human words, he moved closer and saw something that made his heart tighten. Blood. Dry blood near the entrance. Fresh blood inside. Blood trails that led away into the jungle. Someone had been injured. Maybe hunted. Maybe killed. Then he saw the metal wall. Deep claw marks long and uneven. Something massive had attacked the transport. Something strong enough to cut solid steel. The storm roared outside. Louder and louder, almost warning him. Rylan bent down and touched one cub gently. It was cold. Too cold to survive this night. He looked at the second cub. It was breathing fast, scared, hungry, shaking, without thinking. Rylan pulled off his outer jacket and wrapped both cubs inside it. They immediately curled into the warmth. The golden cub made a soft sound, almost like relief. "Okay," Rylan whispered. "I've got you." He stood up to leave when a deep, earth-shaking roar echoed from the jungle. Rylan froze. The roar came again. Louder, closer. Something big was hunting. And from the sound, it was angry. Very angry. The cubs trembled inside his jacket. Rylan knew he had only 2 choices. Walk away and pretend he saw nothing, or carry the cubs and face whatever monster wanted them. And he made his decision without fear. He tightened his grip around the cubs and ran. The jungle seemed live. Branches moved. Shadows crawled. The storm made everything blurry. But behind him, he heard heavy footsteps, slow, careful. Stalking Dot the predator knew exactly where he was. Rylan jumped over fallen logs, slipped on wet ground, and pushed through thorny bushes. The cubs cried softly. He held them close, trying not to shake. Dot lightning flashed hand for one heartbeat. He saw a giant silhouette far behind him. 4 legs, massive body. Glowing eyes watching him through the trees. The storm covered his tracks, but not his scent. Ryland pushed harder. He reached a narrow path leading to his old outpost. It was hidden under rock cover, a safe spot, at least for now. He rushed inside, closed the metal door, and locked it. Outside, the massive creature stopped near the door. Its low growl vibrated through the walls, as if warning him, but then it stepped away. Inside the outpost, Ryland opened his jacket. The cubs looked up at him with tired, trusting eyes. They pressed their tiny heads against his chest. He had no idea who they really were. No idea what danger they carried. No idea that an entire kingdom was searching for them, for now. They were just scared little cubs, and tonight, he would protect them with his life. The storm slowed down by morning, but the jungle was still wet, cold, and full of danger. Ryland had slept only a few minutes. The two hybrid cubs lay wrapped in warm cloth near a small heater inside the outpost. Their tiny chests moved up and down with tired, soft breaths. Ryland sat beside them, cleaning his rifle, his eyes fixed on the door. He kept hearing that roar in his head, the giant creature stalking him through the night. Whatever it was still out there. He looked at the cubs again. They seemed peaceful now, but their bodies showed signs of trauma, burns on their arms, scratches on their legs, and bruises on their backs. Someone had tried to move them quickly, maybe run with them. Before the crash, why were you two out there alone? Ryland whispered. Suddenly, the golden cub opened its eyes. It studied Ryland with a strange calm, as if trying to read his soul. Then it gave a small sound, something between a chirp and a pant, gently touched his hand with its paw. Ryland felt something warm inside his chest. He didn't know why, but he already cared about them. He heated a nutrient pack and placed it near their mouths. The silver-striped cub sniffed at first, then tried to nibble. The golden one followed. They ate slowly, still weak. Good, Ryland murmured. You need strength. But outside the outpost, the jungle was waking up. And Ryland wasn't the only one searching. Some distance away, 3 black-armored scouts moved through the wet bushes. Their helmets carried red scanning lights. One of them knelt and touched the ground. Fresh footprints, he said coldly. Human size, male, heavy boots. He moved his hand further. His voice changed. And small prints. Hybrid prints. 2 of them. Another scout hissed. Queen will pay millions if we bring the cubs first. Move. They disappeared into the mist like shadows. Inside the outpost, Ryland checked the perimeter camera. Static. The storm had damaged his power lines. He stepped outside carefully, keeping one ear on the cubs' soft sounds. The morning air was fresh but tense, quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Birds weren't calling. Small creatures weren't moving. Everything seemed to be hiding. He knelt near the wet ground and studied the soil. Huge prints. 4 legs. Deep marks. It was the same predator from last night. It had circled the outpost. Twice, Ryland returned inside, fast, and closed the door. The cubs ran to him instantly, trying to climb up his leg in fear. He lifted them both, calming them with slow, gentle strokes. You sensed it too, huh? He whispered. But he wasn't prepared for what came next. A sudden mechanical hum echoed through the sky. Ryland looked up through the window cracks and saw a drone moving above the trees, a sleek, black hunter drone, scanning the jungle floor with a blue light. What now? He muttered. The drone stopped directly above the outpost. Ryland's chest tightened. They were searching for something, or someone. He moved the cubs to a storage closet and covered them with blankets. Stay quiet, he whispered. I'll protect you. The golden cub nodded slowly, almost like it understood. Ryland grabbed his rifle and stepped back outside, standing under the rock overhang for cover. The drone hovered silently, like a metal insect waiting for a command. Rylan raised his rifle butt. The drone suddenly sent a signal. A red light flashed. Coordinates locked. Rylan's face turned pale. Someone was coming. He ran inside, grabbed the cubs, and packed whatever supplies he could find. Food, blankets, water, spare ammo, a map, and a small medkit. "We can't stay," he whispered. "They found us." He strapped the supplies onto his back, wrapped the cubs gently into a secure cloth carrier, and stepped into the jungle again. The storm clouds were moving away, but the air was filled with danger. Every leaf, every branch, every shadow felt alive. The giant predator's tracks went deeper into the forest. But the drone signal meant someone else. Someone smarter was heading toward his outpost. Rylan chose the only path that offered cover. The old river channel. Half hidden under vines, he moved fast, but careful. His boots splashed softly. The cubs peeked out from the cloth, watching everything with wide eyes. But the world around them was changing. Metal footsteps sounded far behind him, matching the beat of marching soldiers. Not animals. Not predators. Hunters. Rylan pushed forward, heart racing. He didn't know who those soldiers were. He didn't know why the cubs were so important. He didn't know that a whole kingdom cried for them. He only knew one thing. He would not let anyone take the cubs. Not today. Not ever. And as he disappeared deeper into the forest, the hunters finally reached his empty outpost. Their leader stepped inside, sniffed the air, and growled. "He has them. The human has the royal offspring." The hunt had officially begun. Rylan kept moving through the old river channel, his boots splashing in the shallow water. The jungle above formed a thick ceiling of leaves, blocking sunlight and hiding him from drones. The air felt heavy. Even the wind carried tension. The cubs peeked out from the cloth carrier strapped to his chest. Their tiny ears twitched at every sound. They were scared, but they trusted him now. The golden cub rested its head near his heartbeat. The silver-striped cub stayed alert, watching the path as if protecting him back. Rylan whispered softly, "Don't worry. I promised I'll keep you safe." He didn't know if they understood his words, but they relaxed a little. After 2 long hours of walking, Rylan reached an abandoned training bunker deep inside the jungle. Moss covered its walls. Vines wrapped around its roof like giant green snakes. But this place had something the outpost didn't. Silence, safety. No tracks. He pushed the old metal door. It creaked loudly, making the cubs tense. He stepped inside quickly and closed it behind him. Dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts. Inside, old crates lay scattered. A small window let in weak sunlight. This place had been forgotten for years, perfect for hiding. Rylan gently placed the cubs on a soft folded blanket near a corner. They walked around slowly, sniffing the floor and exploring their new temporary home. Rylan smiled. "At least you two have some energy now." He opened a metal box filled with old gear and pulled out another blanket. He gave it to the cubs. The golden one tugged at it with its teeth and dragged it closer to the silver-striped cub. Then they curled together on top of it. They looked like 2 tiny stars lost in a world too big for them, while the cubs rested. Rylan searched the bunker for anything useful. He found a rusty stove, cracked water tank, and some emergency food packs still sealed enough to survive for a few days. He checked the cubs again. They were awake now, looking at him with bright eyes. The silver-striped cub suddenly walked up to him, lifted its small tail, and bumped its head against his knee. Rylan froze. This was a sign of trust, maybe even bonding. The golden cub followed, placing its tiny paw on his hand. Rylan sat down slowly, letting both cubs crawl into his lap. Their purring was soft, warm, almost healing. He stroked their heads gently. They closed their eyes, enjoying every touch. For a moment, the war, the danger, the jungle, everything disappeared. It was just him and these two innocent lives. But peace never stayed long on. Varuna, a sudden metallic click echoed outside. Rilan's eyes snapped open. The cubs jumped in fear. He raised a finger. Stay quiet. He moved silently to the window and peeked outside. 3 black armored soldiers moved through the trees. Scanning the ground with trackers, they were close. Too close, Ryland's heart tightened. He crouched down, grabbed the cubs, and placed them behind an old crate. "Don't move," he whispered. They hid without making a sound. Their glowing eyes watched him with complete trust. Ryland moved to the doorway and held his rifle ready. He didn't want to fight, but he also wouldn't allow anyone to touch the cubs. The soldiers examined the ground, then pointed to the river channel. "He passed through here," one said. Another pointed toward the bunker. He could be hiding in that structure. Ryland's breath stopped. But before they could move closer, a loud roar shook the jungle. The trees trembled. Birds flew away in panic. The soldiers froze. "That beast again. Retreat. We are not fighting it." They backed away slowly and disappeared into the trees. Rylan exhaled deeply. The predator, whatever it was, had unintentionally saved him. He checked the cubs again. They ran to him instantly. The golden cub pressed its forehead to his chin. The silver-striped cub climbed onto his shoulder and wrapped its tail around his neck. Ryland smiled softly. Good job staying quiet, but something else had changed. The cubs were not just scared or tired anymore. They were beginning to see him as family. Hours passed. Ryland repaired the broken stove, cleaned the bunker floor, and made a soft bedding area from blankets and cloth. The cubs played nearby. They chased dust particles in the air. They wrestled gently with each other. Sometimes they climbed onto Ryland's boots and refused to leave. He laughed quietly. "You two are trouble." The golden cub suddenly jumped onto his lap, looked into his eyes, and made a soft, chirping sound. The silver-striped cub climbed his shoulder again, giving a slow purr at that moment. Rylan felt something he hadn't felt in years: companionship. Purpose. A reason to keep going. He looked at them with a warm, protective gaze. "I guess this is our home now." But somewhere far away, across the jungle and beyond the mountains, a powerful, enraged voice echoed through a royal war hall. "Find my children." The Feline Queen's search had reached its peak, and soon her path would cross with Ryland's, deep inside the royal throne ship drifting above planet Varuna. Silence filled the great hall, a silence so heavy that even the strongest warriors felt fear in their bones. At the center stood Queen Larashka, ruler of the feline dominion. Her golden fur glowed under the bright lights. Her eyes, normally soft when she looked at her children, were now burning with anger and grief. Her voice echoed, sharp and dangerous. "Find my cubs, and bring me the one who took them." Dozens of commanders bowed instantly. None dared to argue. None dared to breathe loudly. For 3 weeks, the queen had searched non-stop. Entire forests had been burned. Enemy camps crushed. Dozens of mercenary groups destroyed simply because they hid information. Every planet heard her rage. Every kingdom felt her wrath. Now, the trail pointed to Varuna. The queen's closest general, Commander Varric, stepped forward carefully. "My queen." The tracker drones detected Kubleville energy signatures last night. Lee Roshka's head snapped toward him. "Where?" "The jungle region, near the old human military zone." The queen's claws extended slowly. "We go now." Back on the surface, Ryland lit a small lamp inside the bunker as evening arrived. The cubs ate their meal quietly, their small tails moving side to side. Though the danger outside was growing, inside the bunker, the atmosphere felt warm, almost like a hidden home. Rylon had repaired the stove, fixed the leaking roof, and created a safe play area using old crates. The cubs liked climbing them. The silver-striped cub moved faster, jumping from one crate to another like a tiny acrobat. The golden cub preferred to stay close to Rylon, playing with his fingers or sleeping in his lap. Rylon checked his map again. "There are too many soldiers nearby," he whispered to himself. He wasn't sure who they were. Weren't humans. Weren't local security. They moved like trained hunters. Whoever wanted the cubs wanted them badly. And yet the cubs stayed by his side as if they believed he could protect them from the whole galaxy. He touched their heads gently. "We'll stay here tonight," he said softly. "I'll make sure nothing gets in." But he didn't know the sky above was already changing. The Queen's warship entered Varana's atmosphere like a silent storm. Clouds split apart. Lightning formed around the metal hull. Her ship was shaped like a giant golden blade, beautiful, deadly, and feared across the stars. Inside the command room, Liroshka watched the jungle terrain on screen. She saw wrecked transports. She saw destroyed camps. She saw the dirt trail where her cubs had been dragged. Her heart broke again. They were scared. "Alone," she whispered. Commander Varak stood beside her. "We tracked the last signal to an abandoned structure. But my scouts report someone protected them." The Queen's ears twitched. "Protected, yes, my queen, multiple footprints. Human size, same person again and again." Liroshka stared at the screen. A human. Her claws retracted slightly. "Prepare ground descent," she commanded. "I want to see who dares touch my children." Night fell across the jungle like a dark blanket. The air became cold. Crickets sang. Strange blue insects glowed between the trees. Rylon sat near the bunker door, rifle in hand. His senses were sharp. Every sound made him alert. Inside, the cubs slept wrapped in a blanket, their small bodies pressed close for warmth. The golden cub sighed softly in its sleep. The silver-striped one twitched its ears at distant noises. Rylon forced himself to stay awake. Something felt wrong tonight. The wind carried a strange smell. The ground had a soft vibration, like something heavy moved far away. Suddenly, dash, boom, a shockwave hit the jungle. Birds flew out of the trees. Animals scattered. Even the cubs woke up crying. Rylon grabbed them fast and held them close. "What now?" he whispered tensely. Then a blinding golden light flashed across the sky. A ship descending. A massive one. Rylon's heart slammed inside his chest. He had seen videos of that ship before. In war briefings, in threat warnings. Only one person in the galaxy used a ship like that. The Feline Queen. Rylon whispered, "Oh no. No, no, no." He looked at the cubs in his arms. "So that's who you are," he said quietly. "That's why everyone wants you." The golden cub pressed its forehead against his chest, whimpering. It knew the Queen had arrived. It knew this night was important. Rylon took a deep breath. "Don't worry. I won't let anyone harm you. Not even a queen." He didn't know if that was bravery or madness. But one thing was clear, the greatest, most feared, most powerful mother in the galaxy had landed on Varuna, and she was coming straight toward him. Night wrapped itself around the jungle like a dark cloak, and every creature sensed something powerful had arrived. The air felt heavier. The ground felt strange, like it was waiting for something big to happen. Rylon checked the bunker door again and again. He knew people were coming. He just didn't know who would reach him first, the Queen or the hunters inside. The two hybrid cubs stayed close to him. The golden cub kept its paw on Ryland's hand, refusing to let go. The silver-striped cub hid under Ryland's jacket, trembling slightly each time thunder rumbled. Ryland touched their heads gently. "It's okay," he whispered. "We'll make it through tonight." But deep down, he wasn't sure. Far in the jungle, 3 hunter soldiers moved silently through the leaves. Their armor lights were off, their steps soft, their breathing slow. They followed a new set of tracks, fresh, light, and tiny. "The cubs are close," one said. Another checked his wrist device. The Queen's ship landed nearby. "We must take them before she arrives." Their leader grinned. "Then hurry. Tonight, we become rich." They moved faster, their black armor blending with the shadows. Back at the bunker, Ryland packed important supplies into a small bag. His fingers shook slightly, not from fear, but from urgency. He needed to be ready if he had to run again. Suddenly, the cubs froze. Both of them lifted their heads at the same time. Their ears twitched. Their eyes widened. They backed up into Ryland's chest. "What? What is it?" he whispered. Then he heard it too. Footsteps, slow, careful, right outside. Ryland grabbed his rifle and positioned himself near the door. His heart pounded so loudly, he wondered if the soldiers outside could hear it. A small device rolled under the door, a metal sphere with blinking lights. "Flash charge." Ryland yelled. He dove behind a crate, covering the cubs with his body. Boom. A white light exploded inside the bunker, shaking the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. The crates rattled. The cubs cried out in fear. Ryland's ears rang, but he forced himself to move. He grabbed the rifle, aimed at the door, which burst open. 3 black armored hunters rushed inside. "There." One shouted, pointing at Ryland and the cubs. "Get them." Ryland fired a warning shot. "Stay back." But the soldiers ignored him and charged. Ryland dived behind another crate, keeping the cubs hidden. He fired again, hitting a soldier's armor. The blast pushed him back, but did not knock him down. The hunters were strong. Too strong. Ryland knew he couldn't win in a direct fight. He whispered to the cubs, "Stay here. Don't move." The golden cub grabbed his sleeve with its tiny teeth, refusing to let go. Ryland gently pulled free and pushed them deeper behind the crates. The soldiers advanced, their visors glowing red. One pointed a stun gun. "They're royal offspring. Don't damage them." Royal offspring. The words confirmed what Ryland already feared. These cubs were not just rare. They were royal blood. The soldiers came closer. Ryland tightened his grip on his rifle. He stood up, ready to protect the cubs with everything he had. Before anyone moved, boom, something huge slammed into the bunker roof. Dust and stones rained down. The walls shook. The soldiers stopped instantly. "What was that?" One whispered. A second slam hit the wall harder this time. Then a roar, so deep, so powerful, that even the hunters froze. Ryland felt his skin crawl. "That's the creature from the jungle," he whispered. Another roar shook the bunker. Something massive was trying to break in. Suddenly, the roof cracked. A huge claw burst through, long, curved, and strong enough to shred metal. The creature roared again, angry and wild. The hunters panicked. It followed the cubs. "Fall back. Retreat now. Move, move." They scrambled toward the door, pushing each other in fear. One dropped his weapon. Another tripped on a broken crate. They didn't care. They only wanted to escape the monster. Ryland grabbed the cubs and held them close as the creature slammed the roof again. Dust filled the air. The walls shook like they were about to break. The creature roared one final time, and then it stopped. Silence fell. Heavy, dark, unsteady Rylan didn't move until the hunters' footsteps faded far away. He looked down at the cubs, trembling in his arms. "You're safe," he whispered. But he knew it wasn't true. Not fully. Not yet, because the hunters would return. The creature would return. And somewhere in the jungle, the queen herself was coming. And when she reached him, she would demand answers. And Rylan didn't know if she would see him as a protector or a threat. The jungle was quiet, far too quiet for a world usually filled with wild noises and restless creatures. Even the wind seemed to hide. Even the night seemed to wait. Rylan stepped out of the damaged bunker with the cubs held close against his chest. Smoke rose from the cracked roof. The giant creature's attack had stopped for now, but the danger was not gone. The hunters would return. The monster could return. And something far greater was moving toward him from the sky. He looked up and saw a golden light glowing through the clouds. His breath caught. He had seen that ship in war briefings. In classified files, in warning reports, the Golden Crown, flagship of Queen Larashka, ruler of the Feline Dominion, one of the most feared leaders in the galaxy. And she was descending, straight toward him. Rylan whispered to the cubs, "Stay with me. Don't be scared." But his own voice carried the fear he couldn't hide. The cubs pressed closer. The golden one tucked its head into his chest. The silver-striped one wrapped its tail tightly around his arm. Rylan tightened his hold and stepped deeper into the jungle. He didn't want to face her. He didn't want to fight. He only wanted the cubs safe, but the queen was not someone a man could run from. The trees bent under the wind as the golden ship landed gently on a flat patch of jungle floor. The ground vibrated. A wave of warm light spread across the area. Dozens of elite royal guards stepped out, first tall, armored, fast, silent. Their eyes were sharp, their movements dangerous. Each one carried a weapon designed for hunting. Beasts the size of buildings, but none of them walked in front. Because the queen herself stepped out. She was tall and graceful, her fur glowing gold under the ship lights. Her eyes were bright like two suns. Her presence was so strong that even the guards bowed their heads when she walked past in her hand. She held a royal staff etched with symbols of her bloodline, symbols that matched the cubs' markings. A faint scent reached her, the scent of her children, her heart, once filled with fire and rage, suddenly trembled. "They were here," she whispered. "My cubs were here." Commander Varric approached her and bowed. "My queen, our scans show life signs deeper in the jungle. A human life sign. 2 smaller life signs with royal signature." The queen's claws extended slightly. "A human carries my children." Her voice held anger, confusion, and something else, fear. Fear that her cubs were hurt. "Show me the direction," she said. The guards moved instantly meanwhile. Rylan moved quickly through the dense trees, his boots sinking into soft ground. The cubs stayed absolutely silent, like they sensed the importance of this moment. He stopped at a hill that overlooked a clearing, and his heart stopped. Below, he saw the queen. She stood in the glowing light of her ship, like a living sun. Rylan swallowed hard. "What do I do?" he whispered. The cubs lifted their heads at the same time. Their eyes filled with recognition. The golden cub let out a tiny sound, soft, hiking, hopeful. The silver-striped cub reached out its little paw toward the queen. Rylan stared at them. "You know her, don't you?" He knew the answer before they reacted. He breathed deeply, holding the cubs close, and walked down the hill. The guards saw movement first. Someone approaching. Ready weapons. Rylan lifted one hand. "I'm not here to fight." The queen raised her staff, stopping her guards instantly. She stepped forward. Her eyes locked on Rylan and on the cubs wrapped in his arms. Her voice trembled. My babies. Rylan froze. He had never heard a voice like that. It wasn't the voice of a ruler. It was the voice of a mother who had cried for weeks. He slowly lowered the cloth blanket. Revealing the cubs, the golden cub reached for the queen. The silver-striped cub chirped softly. The queen dropped to her knees. A queen. Kneeling, her eyes filled with tears she had held back for far too long. She opened her arms, and the cubs leaped into them without hesitation, crying softly and climbing onto her shoulders, her chest, her hair. The queen hugged them tightly, whispering their names again and again. My children. My heart. My stars. Rylan stood silently, feeling something strange inside his chest. Shalif. Sadness and fear mixed together. Finally, the queen stood up and faced him. Her eyes were sharp again, but not angry. Human, she said softly. You saved my children. Rylan nodded. I just couldn't leave them. The queen stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. Her voice was quiet, but dangerous in its honesty. The hunters would have killed them. The beast would have eaten them. And my enemies would have used their deaths to destroy my kingdom. She looked at him deeply. You protected what is most precious to me. Rylan swallowed. Before he could speak, the golden cub suddenly reached from her arms toward Rylan, crying softly. The queen looked shocked. They don't want to leave you, she whispered. She looked at her children, then at Rylan again. And then she said the most unexpected words. Human. Come with us. My children have chosen you too. The night held its breath, and Rylan's life changed forever. The jungle lights flickered softly as the queen stood in front of Rylan with her cubs held close in her arms. The royal guards waited silently behind her, watching the human who had done the impossible protecting royal children alone, with no reward, no army, and no knowledge of who they truly were. Rylan felt frozen. The queen's words still echoed in his mind. My children have chosen you too. He didn't expect this. He didn't plan for any of this. He only wanted to save two small, frightened cubs in a storm. Rylan swallowed hard. I don't understand, he said quietly. I'm just a soldier. A human soldier no one remembers. Queen Liarashka stepped a little closer, her golden fur shimmering under the ship lights. You kept them warm. You fed them. You covered them with your own clothes. And you fought for them when even trained hunters ran away. She lowered her gaze, the weight of her words sinking into the night. In my world, that is not just a soldier. That is a guardian. The cubs chirped softly in her arms. The golden cub stretched a paw toward Rylan again. The silver-striped cub made a tiny purring sound, as if calling him back. Rylan looked into their innocent eyes, filled with trust he never asked for, but somehow earned. He took a small breath. Why me? He whispered. The queen answered in a voice both strong and gentle. Because my children felt safe in your arms. A feeling even my warriors could not give them. The queen turned slightly and looked at the jungle behind Rylan. This planet, she said softly, is full of enemies now. Hunters, beasts, thieves. They came for my cubs. Many more will come if we stay. Rylan nodded. He knew she was right. The royal guards were already scanning the area, setting shields around the clearing. A guard approached the queen and bowed. My queen, he said, we must leave soon. Enemy forces are regrouping. The queen's eyes darkened. They will not touch my children again. She looked back at Rylan. You can return to your old life if you choose. Or, her voice softened. You can come with us. The cubs want you, and I owe you a life debt no crown can repay. Rylan felt his heart shake. He looked down at his hands that had fought, protected, and carried the cubs through danger. He remembered the nights alone in the jungle, the battles, the loneliness, the silence of his old outpost. Then he looked at the cubs one more time, and everything felt clear. These cubs laughed around him. They slept against him. They found comfort in his arms when even the storm roared around them. They didn't see a soldier. They saw a protector. A father figure. Rylan slowly extended his arms. The golden cub jumped into them instantly, climbing up his jacket and licking his chin. The silver-striped cub followed, curling into his chest and purring loudly. The queen watched, her eyes softening. "It seems they have decided for you," she said gently. Rylan let out a quiet laugh. "I guess. I'm coming with you." The queen bowed her head, a gesture no ruler had ever shown to a human soldier. "Then you come not as a prisoner," she said, "and not as a stranger. You come as family." The guards opened a golden pathway toward the ship. Soft lights guided the way. The massive vessel hummed like a sleeping beast, ready to rise again. The queen walked beside Rylan as they approached the ramp. "No human has ever stepped onto my flagship," she said. "You will be the first." Rylan blinked. "Why me?" "Because you carry courage," she answered, "and because my children love you." Before entering the ship, Rylan turned back to the jungle one last time. The broken bunker, the cracked trees, the ruined path. This was where everything changed. He whispered, "Goodbye, Varuna." Then he stepped onto the ramp. Inside the ship, warm lights welcomed him. The walls were carved with ancient feline art. The air smelled clean, gentle, almost royal. The cubs ran ahead, exploring happily. Calling Rylan to follow. Queen Laroshka smiled quietly at the sight. "They see you as theirs," she said softly. Rylan chuckled. "I guess I see them that way too." The queen looked at him looked at him with eyes no longer filled with rage or fear, but gratitude. "And respect human," she said. "You saved a kingdom tonight. But more than that, you saved a mother." Rylan felt a warmth in his chest he didn't know he needed. The queen extended her hand. "Welcome to your new life. Welcome to the royal family." The cubs leaped into his arms again, purring loudly. Rylan smiled. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He didn't feel lost. He felt home, and as the ship lifted into the sky, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, celebrating the human who became protector, guardian, and part of a royal family he never expected. The end.